We are going to deal firmly, and we are going to deal decisively with corruption.
The president has no intention whatsoever to have his contract terminated by the people of Kenya.
The shilling has continued to fall against the dollar.
This memo is about one Moses Kuria.
Sasa rais yako Marekani, ligi yako Colombia, Musali yako London, na mimi ndio nimekalia.
You have a member of parliament in as the preferred presidential candidate.
President William Ruto attack on the judiciary.
I, Jonas Hospita Domo, do swear that I will at all times.
I'm Alan Hubbard.
I am Boniface Miriko.
This is Debatable. Agree to disagree.
And a hyena that wants to kill or eat his children starts by saying that the children smell like goats.
That reminds me of a president who does not mind how he's called. But as long as I have done what I need to do,
as long as I do my due diligence, then we are good. Good evening, wherever you are. My name is Boniface. This is Debatable. Welcome to Monday's Debatable. And I am with my colleague here, our co-host.
Yes. Did you already say your name?
I've said my name.
Okay. I am his co-host, Alan Hubbard, and here we agree to disagree. Welcome to Include 360. That is the brand name, and we are here today. There isn't much political happening in the country, even though we've seen bishops and different church leaders. They have sort of changed their tone when it comes to addressing the government. They're calling them directly and telling them, hey, ushuru mmezidi, you need to do things a little bit different. But there isn't anything quite upsetting that I think that has happened in the political scene. Not unless I haven't been following the news.
Something about Moses Kuria and Aisha Jumwa.
Yeah, it's a confused government.
It's a bit confusing. One is pointing the finger on another, saying that this is my docket. Do not say anything about this. You're overlapping, etc. So it seems we have some cabinet secretaries who don't know their mandates and their jurisdictions. Yeah. So I don't know.
Who is on the wrong here? Who is on the fault?
I think Moses Kuria is biting more than he can chew. He can say that he's part of the state and the docket that he was given. I think it overlaps to other cabinets, but I think he needs to work with other cabinet secretaries for saying that I think musicians should be paid through e-citizen or something like that. Aisha Jumwa said that that is not
going to happen.
That is not your
that is not your cake to eat.
Yes. I will announce it when I feel it's ready.
It's ready to be announced.
Yes. So I think Moses Kuria also, we've discussed Moses Kuria here
a number of times. Yeah.
I think he's a person also who likes to be at the forefront on the headlines, and if time passes by, if he's not in the headlines, then he'll do something. But he's doing a good job generally. Yeah,
he's doing a good job, and I think nimpenda kiki, if we could say, if we could put it in a plain language, and we hope that this kupenda kiki won't land him in hot soup.
Yeah. Over the weekend, I got to listen to what Vladimir Putin said or discussed with
Tucker
Carlson.
Yeah.
It's a history lesson. I got to understand everything about Russia, where Russia came from, and why it has its stake on Ukraine. But something that perhaps
stood out for you,
Vladimir Putin never mentioned, is that before that we had the Mongolian or the Mongol Empire, where we had the likes of Kublai Khan, the likes of Genghis the Great,
Genghis Khan.
They colonized or they took over Russia,
Yeah.
So if Vladimir Putin wants to give us a history about his justification to take over Ukraine, I think we need to go back and start with the Mongolian kingdom. And also, the Mongols will say that they have a claim over Russia. They can as well say
that this is our ancestral land.
This is our ancestral land. We want this land. So I find the argument not really holding water. Because if we start to claim countries or territories according to our pasts, according to how people lived, it will bring a whole new world order, because every population, every society moved. We all migrated from somewhere. We say that Kenya is the cradle of mankind. So that does it mean that Kenya does not belong to any state in the world? So I don't think that is a plausible argument to give so that you can invade another country. Well, I also understood that he said, the NATO agreement of 1991, I bet, that the NATO allies or the NATO organization should not admit former Soviet members. That one, perhaps, he has a solid claim on it, if it was agreed. But then again, you have countries that want to govern themselves. You want countries that are strong and have a say in whatever goes on in their country. If, from 1991 to right now, the society has changed. We have a totally new crop of people. So if these people want more self-governance, then it means that you allow them to choose their own path. If these people have chosen the path of the West, then it will be very hard for you to impose your mandate on them and say that because they were Soviet Union, they cannot decide their own fate. So I believe in the spirit of people or sovereignty, countries actualizing their sovereignty, they should be allowed to choose whichever side they want to go. They should not be coerced to stay in whatever side you might want to stay because of a treaty. So basing on those claims, I think I didn't see the way many people saw that he's a very elaborate person in explaining why he attacked Ukraine. I don't know what your view is on this.
You've said a handful of things that are true, and which went down in that particular interview. But what stood out for me. And for me, I sort of point out greatness where I see it.
Yes.
Putin is an eloquent speaker.
Yes.
And even though he missed out, actually I was going to cut you short and tell you, hey, listen, yes, whatever history you know, it's okay, that's your history. I will say the history that I know. And I will decide where my history starts from. So if you want to talk about Genghis Khan, it's okay, Nisawa, but not me as the Russian leader. Because one thing that I understand, Russia is led with a narrative. And where the media is used to whip up the emotions of citizens for them to stay and think in a particular manner, and for such people, when a president gets such an international interview, then definitely he's not going to spill all the beans. He's going to start where he feels that this is the most where my people will relate with, and the only thing that my people are supposed to know. But as far as Putin is concerned, I think he's an elaborate person who can be able to articulate his mind and give his points out clearly. And you could not, because one thing I did not anticipate that he could get the jokes that Tucker Carlson that he tried to throw at him, but you could always see the man laugh back and say, but I am not Joe Biden. I'm not here to talk about Joe Biden. If you want to ask anything that we spoke about between me and Joe Biden, go ask Joe Biden. I do not have anything to tell you about that. But I think for what I saw there as well, Russia, Putin wants to be recognized by Europe. And the Europeans are not giving him that. And I think that, you see, have you ever, when you look at yourself, you are a whole package.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people are not accepting you in a particular circle. Yeah. You're like, kwani shida yangu ni gani? Yeah, I think that's where Putin has a problem. He's like, hey, I am a whole package. If I decide to close the Nord Stream, you all do not have energy. You all do not have power. But why don't you want me to be a part of the table? And to make matters worse, people who used to be a part of me, you want to make them a part of you, but not me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that is the bone of contention that he has with the West.
Yeah.
That they at some point he said that I would like to join you. Yeah. Would you admit me to NATO?
Yeah.
And I think the CIA, said no. You know, so he's feeling as he's out of this circle of people who are eating good, living good, recognized around the world. But I wonder if Putin maybe had said yes, how will the world be? You know, it's also something
to think about.
Yeah. If we could have a unipolar world, I think that will be unipolar, just to say, because China will not match up to a force that is Russia, US, and Western European.
Yeah.
But if you look at the history of Russia, just around World War II, they worked with the US to fight the Nazis. They worked with the US to fight these Germans, Hitler, who was
Adolf Hitler,
who was massacring people around the German and the Balkans.
The whole of yeah.
So it's not something that has never happened. They colluded. They were in terms. In fact, it's only after I think Nicholas II or something that Russia now adopted to have a different kind of leadership where you recognize the church, the state, and nationalism.
Yeah.
But all through and through, Russia had taken up a Western kind of living. They really saw what France was doing. They adopted what France was doing, and they were very, very much looking at the West. But right now, as you can see, perhaps we can see a Putin or Russia that is leaning towards communism, leaning towards the East, authoritarian rule. And there is a formation maybe that can come in the future of three countries. This is Russia, Iran, and China. They are very much alike, and they support countries that have authoritarian rule. So that is their modus operandi. And if you can see even in South America, the kind of leaders they support, the Venezuela, the Cuba, and the like, these are authoritarian leaders. So perhaps if they align themselves well, they can have a stronger say. But as things are right now, Iran, Russia, and China do not have so much in common other than they have authoritarian rule. And that is the problem now. If they want to match up with what the West is doing, they need to have a single goal. Second, they also need to have a hierarchy. We know it is in public domain that the US is on top of everything. Even if you look at the West, the alignment, you know that the US is on top, then comes other countries, the UK, the France, Germany to some extent. So if we are looking at the East, then Russia will have to allow China to lead because China is at a better position compared to Russia economically and also in terms of its military. I know Russia has a very good elaborate military, but also China has the capacity to have
1.2 billion people is not a joke.
Exactly. So will Russia and Iran accept a Chinese leadership in that kind of a setting? That is now the problem that can face that side.
And I think things started changing for Russia when Vladimir Putin, the young Vladimir Putin, started coming into power, and he actually realized the power that that Russia had when it came to the European nations. Because at around 2001, that's when Russia sort of, there is the biggest oil company called Gazprom. This is the time that they started strengthening it, and they started sort of basically blowing up different pipes and pipelines that were taking fuel to Europe, even holding Germany to its knees and telling it, if you're not going to make such policies, then we're not going to be able to sell you gas. And I think there is even a quote. I was watching a documentary that even Vladimir Putin back then made a visit to Germany and said that I like Chancellor Angela Merkel because she listens. She's able to listen. She's able to listen to when she's being talked to. So I think there are leaders who now, Putin comes off as a person who wants to be exalted. And the current state of leaders that are available in Europe, they do not want to exalt the man Putin, and he thinks that if you're not going to exalt me, then I'm going to become a problem. I'm going to become a menace in your life. But besides that, I think whatever facade Putin puts on, he's a likable man. Yeah, you wouldn't understand, or you wouldn't want to think why his people or the Russians like him. Yeah, or even though we have the receipts of the people who have went against the Russian government and they also got to lose their lives and all of that. But also there is this rebellious sort of standpoint and an understanding or a wanting to be different, asking questions. Why do we have to be democratic? Because Putin came in a democratic manner, because he came in through elections. But after the elections was like, no, I'm not going to be like the West. Yeah, I need to stay here a little bit longer. So definitely the philosophies are not also going to allow him to agree to much of what what the West is telling him. And also that treaty that you sort of spoke about, that was between, I think it was between Germany, France and Russia. And then when Germany and France were like, this does no longer serve us, they withdrew from it and they decided to start admitting countries that are from the Soviet, or that used to be a part of the Soviet Union, into NATO. But we'll wait and see how this entire thing ends.
Absolutely.
And before we talk about the tragic death of Kiptum and the road carnage that is happening in our country currently, because every other single day, actually there was even another accident on Mulolongo, where two people lost their lives, and two people lost their lives. I think it was three people, two from a matatu and another one from a personal car. It is quite devastating. And the story that I want to bring attention to the world is the health of Defense Secretary of the United States, and this is Austin Lloyd. Initially, about a month or 3 weeks ago, he was admitted to hospital for prostate cancer. And surprisingly, the President of the United States was not aware of where his Defense Secretary is at. And it comes off as these men who have served in the armies and all of that, they take their life so privately that they do not find the urge of informing people that, by the way, I am going through under this particular sickness. Sort of they do not want to be felt pity for. Probably you have an experience with this.
It's true. It's true. I've done quite a few research on that, and it's true that men, mostly men in service, do not like to be seen as weak. You know, any kind of ailment, any kind of maybe going to see a psychiatrist, they don't like to be seen as such. They like to be people to continue to see them as strong,
a
macho men who are in service and who continue to uphold the rules. You know, when you go to a military barracks or when you are admitted to be in service, you go through it's like an entire life, a life-changing moment where you will be inculcated in military life, and that includes you being self-aware about yourself, you being very strong to withstand everything that can come your way. And you know, you regard yourself to be above other people in the society because you are the one who is guiding the country. So when these people get this kind of ailment, they don't want people to know. They don't want to be seen as weak, and that is something that affects them more so in matters of mental health, because most of the time you'll find people who have served in different capacities, have gone outside to represent their countries, been in war. They come back and get these psychotic, sometimes
PTSDs, post-traumatic disorders.
PTSD, and they don't want to share. At the end of the day, you find that unfortunately, some of them will end up killing themselves or killing the people around them, and that affects the entire family. So it is true that those characteristics, they do take place, and it's because of that military culture that makes them to be not to want to be vulnerable. And I don't know, it plays about with everything that comes now after that and how they handle life.
And this time round, at least the news is that he was able to report to the White House and the Pentagon, basically, and his duties were relinquished to his deputy, and hope that he gets definitely. What I found, it's not interesting at all. It's not interesting what I found. So we leave that story at that, And
before you come in, before we leave Russia completely, there is a neighbor there called Azerbaijan that went through an election. They elected this president who has been there since 2003. 7 terms or something. No, they served for 7 years. I think he's been there for 5 terms. Previously, from 1993, his father was the one ruling the country. Now the son is ruling the country from 2003. Won the elections by a very good figure of 92%. That's a straight A.
In terms of back to school.
You wonder, how can a country give someone 92%? So those are the hallmarks of a dictatorship. Anyway. So the person has been president for that long, and you understand there is a conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Absolutely.
About the
border crossings, actually.
Yes, there's a section of land there in Azerbaijan called Nagorno-Karabakh, which is occupied by a lot of Armenians. So Armenia usually claim that land and say this is our country because it has a lot of Armenians. But at the same time, it is in the border of Azerbaijan. So just last year, the Azerbaijan and Armenia got into an agreement where they say that now this land is entirely Azerbaijan. So Armenians left. So when the president assumed power just the other day, I think last week, some few days ago, he said that this is the first term now for us to govern the entire country. It was a very tricky situation because you find other nationals in your country claiming that they are not part of your country. So it brought a lot of conflict, and Russia and the US were supporting different sides on that.
Absolutely. You wouldn't want to find yourself on the same team. And yet on a global stage, you're fighting different wars.
Exactly. So it was a proxy war there. And now we will wait to see how
what comes out of that.
The 7 years will run.
And it was quite gruesome because I remember there was even a time that cars that sort of had cross-cutting number plates, they could people could steal number plates just because they are from this particular country, and all of that. And sometimes it's hard to understand. It's hard to fathom. And actually, the same thing that is happening between Ukraine and Russia. All these guys speak the same language. Because people who live across borders, I think they suffer the most because this is somebody that you see on the other side, and you're fighting each other. It does not really add up. Back home, the sudden death of the young marathoner. Kiptum.
24 years.
24 years. Very, very, very young. And yes, we would want to send our condolences to the family that are bereaved of their loved ones, and also the coach, the Rwandese coach who was traveling with him. Also, he lost his life, and we send our condolences to the entire family. But why we want to talk about this particular story is the recent increase in road carnage in our country. What is it really about? Is it that our road infrastructure isn't at par, and is it about that we as people we have decided not to adhere to the driving standards in our country? And in this country or on this show, we always look for an opportunity either to defend the government or blame the government.
Yeah.
But here, necessarily, the roads have been in existence for the longest time.
Yeah.
Then what exactly are we able to do as a country to make sure that we do not continue losing lives of people? Because 20 years, 24 years, this is a person who was who probably would have won at the Paris 2024 Olympics that are coming
This is the person
in
who will
November.
have taken us to sub 2 hour.
Yeah.
Sub 2 hour marathon, I believe Kevin Kiptum will have taken that.
Because he had still the energy, the gas. 24 is not quite, still very early. Yeah.
So, first off, Kenya is perhaps we can say one of the best countries in Africa that has well-paved roads.
Yeah.
But we have a very high number of accidents happening in our country. And as you mentioned, I think it's a matter of both, the infrastructure and also the part of the government to work.
Yeah.
The infrastructure in that you find that we have a lot of unmarked roads
yeah.
in our country.
Cost cutting.
Yes, you have bumps that are not marked. The other day we had an accident at around almost Naivasha because there was a bump that was not marked, and a tanker fell and burnt a lot of people just because of a single bump. So we have a lot of negligence in the part of the highway authorities to make sure that all these signs are put in the right place and that they can warn the drivers prior to arriving to a certain junction or whatever that landmark that is around the road. You find that you can have the road signage, but it is close. You know, it cannot help you if a sign of a bump is very close to the bump itself. It's maybe it's during the night, you are speeding and you come across that, definitely you'll have to maneuver yourself out of that situation. So as I have traversed the country, also in my old age, I have come to notice that problem because it is not usual for you know, we take it for granted that Sidereva naona, this is a bump here.
Yeah.
Sometimes during the night, these things are not easily visible.
Yeah.
Secondly, you'll find that there's a lot of corruption as well. We have to speak about that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of corruption on our roads. I believe we during the Matiang'i era, it was better when he was he Minister of Transport at some point, where he said,
also Interior and all of that.
Interior, where he said that matatus should not overload. Right now, and I bet if you're watching this, I bet you can confirm that there are matatus overloading.
A 14-seater mnakaa watu 17.
14-seater now in Nairobi, you cannot argue with that conductor.
Yeah.
Anasema wanne, and that is something that is creeping. And now, I knew this, by the way. It is really, really annoying. Yeah. Because it's uncomfortable. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
If at all that matatu gets into an accident, then there will be more casualties.
Absolutely.
There is a higher possibility of people now getting injuries because you are cramped into that matatu.
Yeah.
So there is that negligence in the part of the police officers who are supposed to man these highways. That now people who are in the public service, public commuting vehicles, they are taking advantage of this laxity. We've not seen CS Murkomen coming out and condemning these things. Now we are taken back. You know, I've visited our neighboring countries, most of the south. They do have this tendency to have a lot of people in a vehicle. I don't believe we need to go back to that situation, because I can mention, if you go to the highway, Thika Superhighway, go to Ruiru, go to KU, you will sit 4 of you, and that is it's like it's normal.
Low. It's low.
That is low. You know, it's not supposed to happen. These small mistakes that we are making are the ones that are making our roads. First of all, that vehicle is overloaded. Then the road will be damaged because of the weight of the vehicle, and as I've said, if that vehicle gets into an accident, then you'll have a lot of casualties. So I believe these are the things that are making our country to suffer the burden of accidents every time.
And even as much, and I like how you say that this role has to be played by a number of people, because government also has to come out, because there's so many road accidents that have happened, and I think the CS will only wait for him to come and tell us the numbers of how many people were lost in the road accidents last year and all of that, without exactly getting to know what can be done or what are some of the of the things that can be put in place.
Let me cut you on that.
Yeah.
There is something else also very important for the country to also take keen interest in.
Yeah.
And that is emergency medical care on our highways.
Yeah.
We don't have elaborate emergency medical care on our highways. Today, if you maybe get into an accident, unfortunately, maybe at 1 a.m. somewhere, who are you starting? Who will you call at
Absolutely
the middle
of
the highway? You know, so you don't know. You don't even. We are not even aware of how we are supposed to approach such a situation. Yes, when you go to a driving school, you'll be told, if you get into an accident, maybe after 48 hours, you're supposed to report that accident. But you're not told where are you going to get medical aid if you get into an accident in the middle of a highway, saa sita, saa nane usiku. So these are the important things, because I believe if we have emergency medical care that can respond very fast, then it will save a lot of lives. Yeah.
We can't respond on crime swiftly. Are we going to be able to if fugitives run away from reputable police stations
and they walk and board a matatu,
signs that Kenya sometimes is not a real place.
Sometimes we are just a simulation. It's a Nigerian movie.
It's a Nigerian movie. And also, speaking about Nigeria, I think you've said it all, you've said it all, and we hope that also civil society are able to play the role that they are able to play. I don't think it's a matter of awareness, because a lot of awareness has been created. I think it's the government also coming up in arms and say, hey, the Mutudo way, this is what we're going to do, and we're not going to do this particular thing. Before you ask for money to drive on or ride on these roads, at least make them safe.
Yes, absolutely.
At least you can make them safe. And once again, our condolences to the family of Kevin Kiptum there. And we hope that, sorry to say, but sometimes when something hits home the most, probably, then deliberate decisions will be made.
And Kenyans were very, very touched by this. I could tell. You could just tell by the emotions that people had online today, on X and on all social media. This matter really got to them, and they were very angry. I saw someone commenting, from someone who's not Kenyan, commenting differently about the state of our roads and everything, and Kenyans did not take it. Kenyans, I think today was not the day for anyone to
talk bad about Kenyans.
So.
And I also want to warn anybody who is watching us right now, please do not start a war online with Kenyans. You will be battered. You will be battered so bad. As we are winding up, there isn't much that has happened on the African continent over the weekend, but we saw Ivory Coast win the Africa Cup of Nations after beating the Super Eagles. And Ivory Coast started off sloppy in the group stages. Actually, they even lost 1-0 to Nigeria in the group stages. But they managed to come, and actually they even came from behind, and they beat Nigeria 2-1. And so many Nigerians were mad on the internet.
The silence is courtesy of Ivory Coast. This week.
At least you have a bit of peace.
You have a bit of peace. It will not become. It will not become. It was a very good match. Very good show of African unity, as well as the strides that Africa is making towards having these events. This has been consistent over years. I think 1970s or something. So it is a good show that we are now and the tournament attracted a lot of eyeballs across the world, higher than any other tournament of such a kind in the past. So that means we are growing, as well as I never foresaw it that Nigeria would lose. If you would have asked me on Saturday, I would have said Nigeria would win. But home advantage really made
the Ivory Coastians dust moves that they had.
Yes.
Yeah.
They really helped.
And probably also another piece of news that would pass so many. There is this guy, Herbert Wigwe. He is a Nigerian banker. He was killed in the United States helicopter crash. And this is one of the gentlemen who was going to watch the Super Bowl that cost tickets of over $8,000. Wow. Yeah, he was the co-founder of Access Bank, one of the largest banks in Nigeria. And depending on his stature, even the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, came out and mourned him. So that is a loss to not only to the Nigerians but also to Africans who believe in building our next financial systems as a continent. Yeah. Parting shot.
Well, my parting shot this evening is simply to be very considerate as Kenyans. Yeah. When we are mourning the loss of our hero, many of us maybe are trading words out here about someone else. Yeah. While we don't know the truth of the matter, so I would just like maybe Kenyans to be cautious as much as possible.
You're looking at me. Are you warning me too?
to simply allow also the family to mourn, and let's mourn this hero in the best befitting way as possible, so that if we pass this, then we can discuss other things later. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to add or subtract, but rather wish you all a beautiful Monday evening, and let us see you on Saturday as we bring you another installment of Debatable. And if you watch us and you like what we do and you would like to be a part of these debates, kindly you can reach out to us. We have the capacity now to hold more conversations of 4 people. Yes. So you can reach out, and we'll be able to make you a part of this great set, so that we can build a platform, a platform where people can speak their minds when it comes to matters politics and matters and news that happen around us. Being your host or your co-host or whatever, however you might want to call it, and let's see you on Saturday.